Welcome to the course module of communication engineering. So in the last lecture, we have seen the generation of the AM signal by having an indirect method. Okay. So in the last lecture, we have already discussed how FM signal can be generated by using the narrowband FM signal and by using the different frequency multipliers and frequency converters. So now in this today's lecture, we are going to see the FM generation by using the direct method. So if we talk about the direct method of generation of the FM signal, it is fairly straightforward and simple method. Okay, so just try to look at this circuit. Okay, so in the direct method of generation of the FM signal, generally we talk about voltage controlled oscillators. So generally we have certain oscillators and the circuitry will be made such a way that its oscillation frequency can be controlled by an external voltage. So whenever we can form this type of circuit, okay, then we can apply the message signal as the external voltage, and based upon the magnitude of the message signal, the frequency of oscillation of the oscillator can be controlled. So this is what we are saying, that we are having the voltage controlled oscillator. Means the oscillation of this particular frequency of oscillation of this particular oscillator will be depending on the external voltage. So this is how we can generate the FM signal, which is a very straightforward method. Okay. So basically, if you go through certain textbook, you will find that there are basically three different ways by which we can generate the FM signal by using the direct method. As we have already seen, the indirect method, it is the most indirect method is the most popular method. Okay, because of its ability to have its ability of having the means frequency stability. Okay, because it is able to generate the frequencies that will have a very greater stability. But in the case of direct method, whatever method we are using, generally it is not having that much of frequency stability because of the oscillator's nature. Okay, so let's try to see. You will find that there will be three different ways of generating the FM signal by using the crystal oscillators. So like the first one that we can have is the op-amp, followed by means an op-amp circuit in which we are having the hysteric comparator. So those who are from the electronics background, they must have studied in the analog circuits that we have a Schmitt trigger circuits. Okay, Schmitt trigger op-amp circuit. Okay, so that circuit can also be used for the generation of the FM signal. Okay, so here in this lecture, I'm not going to discuss about the how the op-amp and the hysteric comparator can be, or the Schmitt trigger can be used for the generation of the FM signal. Again, its working is fairly simple. Okay, if you understand the working of the Schmitt trigger, you must be able to understand how this FM signal can be generated by having the Schmitt trigger. Okay, and now the second way of generating the FM signal is controlling the reactive components like capacitances and the inductance in the resonant circuits. Okay, so basically in any of the resonance circuit, okay, when we are making an oscillator, we need to have the capacitance as well as the inductance. Okay, so these two component will form a tank circuit, and then we can control the frequency of oscillation of this particular tank circuit. So this is I'm going to tell you in this particular lecture. Okay, one more thing that we can have is our using a saturable core reactors. Okay, so we can have a core in which the inductance of that core can be controlled by the current flowing in another core. Okay, so that way we can also perform the control of we can generate a voltage controlled or current controlled oscillations in the circuits. So basically in this case, in this particular lecture, I will be talking about the controlling of the reactive components in resonance circuits. Okay, in resonance circuits of an oscillator. So first of all, you try to see generally when we talk about the voltage control oscillator, we have already defined the first of all, what we have to do is we have to make the instantaneous frequency of the oscillator. We have to make it vary with respect to the message signal MT. Okay, so let us suppose if we are able to make the instantaneous frequency of the voltage control oscillator that can be given as equals to omega c, which is equals to kf multiplied with the mt. Here you remember that when we define that omega it is the instantaneous frequency of the oscillator or VCO, okay, voltage control oscillator, then it is defined in the radians, okay, and that time omega c also again in the radians. So therefore kf will have its unit equals to like radian per volts, okay, if our massive signal is a voltage signal, because we are talking about the voltage control oscillator, okay. So as we have already defined kf maybe in the hertz per volt, okay, so that time we had defined the equation equals to fi equals to fc plus kfmt. So you remember that if we define in this way, then the kf will have a different unit. It should be in the radians because we need to multiply it with the 2 pi. So that way we will be able to get this equation that will be in the radians per volt. So now you try to see that if we have any kind of oscillators, okay, the basic arrangement here, you can see that we have a basic arrangement of generating an direct FM signal, okay, by having this resonant circuit. So basically in the resonant circuit, what we do is we have this two components, two reactive components. One is like we have a inductance and another we have a capacitances. So generally the combination of these two will be forming a tank circuit, and then the frequency of oscillation will depend on the values of L1 and C1. So here in this circuit, we can see basically we have another capacitor which is connected over here, which is also called as the DC blocking capacitor. So at radio frequencies, generally this act as a open circuit, it is act as a short circuit. Okay, so it doesn't involve in means frequency of oscillation. It is not going to means the frequency of oscillation is not going to depend on the value of the C2, because CT will be acting as a short circuit at radio frequency. Okay, its value should be selected such that at the radio frequency of oscillation, this will be act as a short circuit, and therefore it cannot be involved in deciding the frequency of oscillation of this tank circuit. Here we have one diode which is called as the varactor diode. Okay, so those who are from the electronics background, you must have studied about the varactor diode in your electronic devices. So generally, if we have any diode, the diode will means is also having a certain capacitances, okay, across its junction, okay, across its depletion layer, you can say. So whenever it is operated in the reverse bias, then it is going to offer a certain amount of resistances, okay, and by controlling the amount of reverse bias, we can control the amount of capacitance offered by the diode. So we have the varactor diode, which is especially designed to have a capacitor value. Okay, you have a capacitor value which is going to be almost changing linearly with the applied reverse bias. Okay, so you will find that the varactor diode which is available practically, they could have been, I mean, they could be designed from giving the value which is varying from 0.1 to 2000 picofarads. So that type of varactor diodes are available. So a large amount of means variation in the diode capacitances can be obtained. Okay, so generally if you see this tank circuit, what happens is we have to apply the massive signal from this transformer terminal, and then it will be due to the induction, it will be appearing in the secondary of this transformer, okay, secondary winding of the transformer, and then it will be appearing across this diode. So basically based on the magnitude of the massive signal, okay, here we already have a particular DC voltage which we have connected over here. So its function is to give the appropriate reverse bias to this particular varactor diode whenever your massive signal is absent. Okay, whenever massive signal is equals to 0, it has to be in a reverse bias. Okay, so that particular reverse bias will be given by this particular DC voltage. Okay, so now whenever this voltage is appearing, okay, it will come to the secondary binding, and because of this voltage, the total amount of reverse bias or forward bias is going to be controlled based on the magnitude of the massive signal. So this way we can control the reverse bias of the varactor diode, okay, in this particular circuit. Fine. So after having this control, okay, uh, this capacitance values can be varied. Okay, this capacitance value can be varied. So once this capacitance is varying, you can find that this capacitance is connected parallelly to this capacitance C1. So basically what is the idea is, if we want to generate an frequency modulated signal from such circuits, either we have to make a voltage dependent reactance value, or means inductance value, or we have to make the voltage dependent capacitance value. So here we can see that it is having a capacitor, because the total capacitance offered will be the combination of the capacitance offered by C1 and capacitance offered by this varactor diode. Okay, so that will be the combination. So basically what we need to do is we have to vary this total combination. Okay, so if we change the capacitance offered by the varactor diode, obviously the combination, the parallel combination of this two is going to be changed. Okay, and therefore the equivalent capacitance is also going to be changed. And because we know that the frequency of oscillations in any of the tank circuit is actually given by this particular equation, omega naught equals to 1 upon root over LC, where L is the inductance value and C is the capacitance value, and L may be an equivalent inductance or C may be an equivalent capacitance. Okay, so in this circuit, because we are just choosing L1, okay, we are just choosing L1, a single inductance, so I can replace it with this L1, and here C can be replaced by the C equivalent, in which C equivalent will be same as equals to, if this capacitance is denoted by something CD, then it will be replaced by C equivalent equals to C1 in parallel with the CD. Okay, so this way we can have a control over the frequency of oscillation of this particular tank circuit. So here we can see that so this way we have to make the circuit. And now what we can do is, if we have this particular equation of omega naught, that will be equals to 1 upon root over LC. Now if the capacitor C that we want to vary with the empty, okay, because we want to make this capacitor C to change with the empty, then how it can be done is, C can be made equals to C naught minus K empty. Okay, so based on the values of the empty, if empty is going to be positive, the capacitance value is going to be reduced. Okay, whenever it is a positive value, whenever it is a negative value, then the capacitance value is going to increase. Okay, obviously in the varactor diode, you will find that when the reverse bias is increasing, the magnitude of the capacitance is also going to increase. So similarly here you can find that in this expression, C equals to C naught denotes that when message signal empty equals to 0, the capacitance offered by this circuit will be equals to C naught. Okay, so it means that whenever the message signal M equals to empty is equals to 0, then this varactor diode will be having a particular reverse bias, okay, based on the value of this particular DC voltage VB. And based on that, the combination will be calculated, C1 in parallel with the CD, and that value will be equals to your C naught. So this is our expression. Okay, this is our expression of the total equivalent capacitance that will be offered by the circuit, and that has to be message dependent, empty. Okay, and there is one capacitance, there is one constant K. Okay, you can easily calculate what should be the unit. If it is measured in the farad, then it should be measured in the farad per volt. So this way we can calculate the unit. Now, if you substitute for this C in this particular equation of omega naught, we can get this omega naught equals to 1 upon root over LC naught, 1 minus K empty divided by C naught. So now we can modify this expression. That will be, we are getting as omega naught equals to 1 over root over LC naught, 1 minus K empty divided by C naught to the power 1 by 2. Now just keeping this conditions that if K empty by C naught is much lesser than 1, okay, we have to follow this particular condition. Okay, if K empty divided by C naught, if we made it very smaller than 1, then this particular expression can be approximated with the help of binomial expansion. Okay, so this can be approximated by using the binomial expansion. So how we can do it? So this power, if you take this term into the numerator, then this power will become negative -1/2. And the first two term of the binomial expansion will be 1 plus this 1/2 will come to this particular factor. Okay, so it will be becoming 1/2 and then kmt upon c naught. So please try to do the binomial expansion of this particular equation. Okay, so first two term will be considered only when this condition exists, that kmt divided by c naught is much lesser than 1. So this will be the binomial expansion. Okay, so now we can see that we can replace this 1 upon root over LC naught equals to omega c. Okay, as I said that when there is no master signal is applied, there will be a certain frequency of oscillation. Okay, so that oscillation can be regarded as omega c. Okay, so either you can say that it is a unmodulated carrier frequency. Okay, we can also say it as like unmodulated carrier frequency omega c, that will be equals to 1 upon root over LC naught. So now if this is the case, what we can have is we can expand this expression, and that can be written as omega naught equals to omega c plus kmt means k omega c multiplied with the md divided by 2 c naught. So now k omega c by 2 c naught can be replaced with kf. Okay, this can be replaced with kf, and now this can be written as omega naught equals to omega c plus kf mt. So this way we are going to get the like voltage dependent oscillation of this particular voltage control oscillator. Okay, so here we can again also calculate what should be the maximum capacitance deviation. Okay, so what will be the maximum capacitance deviation? Obviously, if you want to calculate the maximum capacitance deviation, then that will be equals to means it will be depending on the maximum value of our message signal. So whenever the message signal is equals to am, okay, so that time this k multiplied with am will be giving you this particular expression like 2 kfc naught am by omega c. So that deviation can also be calculated. Fine. So similarly, delta c upon c naught you can calculate, which is very simple to calculate. Okay, you can easily calculate this maximum value. And then you can also calculate this delta c upon c naught. So that will be coming out as 2 kf am divided by omega c. And here you can write kf into am, that will be giving you the frequency deviation. So that can be written as 2 delta f upon fc. So I hope you must be able to follow this. Okay, how this FM signal can be generated by using the direct method. Okay, so basically what we need to perform is we need to have a voltage control oscillator in which we have to give the message signal as the external voltage. Okay, and then we will be able to get the voltage dependent capacitance, and therefore we will be able to get the overall frequency will be depending on the magnitude of the voltage. Okay, in a similar way, in the saturable core reactor, what we do is we generally control the inductance. Okay, we generally control the inductance of the core. Okay, by based on the current in the another core. Okay, so that way we can again control the inductance value, and therefore we can control the oscillation frequency of the oscillator. So this way we are actually generating the FM signal. You remember that generally such oscillators we do not use for practical generation of the FM signal because of its instability. Okay, because it is not giving you very stable frequency output, and therefore our indirect method of generation of FM signal is more popular than the direct method. So you try to go through this also. Okay, you will be finding that how the Schmitt trigger works. So you will be able to understand that how the Schmitt trigger can also be used for the generation of the FM signal. So now in this lecture, I am going to tell you about the demodulation of the FM signal. Okay, so today I am also going to discuss about the demodulation. So let's begin this discussion. So in the demodulation of the FM signal, okay, first of all, you try to recall this time domain expression of the FM signal. Okay, so generally in the time domain expression of the FM signal, if you recall, we had this particular equation of the FM signal that was SFMT equals to AC cos 2 pi FCT plus 2 pi KF integration over 0 to T M tau and D tau. So now try to see this. If we go to if we do the differentiation of this particular equation, okay, if we perform the differentiation of this equation, before that you try to first understand that the message content, okay, the message content is actually mapped in the variation of the frequency of the carrier. If you remember, in the case of amplitude modulation, the variation of the magnitude of the message signal was mapped in the variation of the amplitude of the carrier. And therefore, when it was conventional AM, we have already seen that that variation of the message signal was actually appear in the variation in the envelope of the carrier. And therefore, if we have a simple envelope detector, that time we could be able to demodulate the EM signal. But in the case of EM signal, we have already seen that this mapping of the variation of the message signal is actually going to happen in the variation of the carrier frequency, okay, and the carrier frequency will remain constant, okay. So how to demodulate, okay, because we have to demodulate this signal. So for doing the demodulation, let's first try to differentiate this expression, okay, of SFMT. So if you do the differentiation, then this cos will giving you sine, okay, so minus sign, so there is one negative sign. And again, if you perform the means differentiation of this factor, we are going to get it as 2 pi fc plus here I will be getting like 2 pi kf multiplied with the mt, because this integration and differentiation will be cancelled out. So basically this expression we are going to get, fine. So we are going to get like SFMT dash, which is the differentiated signal of means frequency modulated signal, that will be equals to minus 2 pi AC, and that will be having, I have just taken out the 2 pi common from this factor, okay, 2 pi FC plus 2 pi KF MT. So now we are going to get minus 2 pi AC FC plus KF MT, okay. Now we are having here sine 2 pi FCT plus 2 pi KF 0 to T M tau D tau. So now if you see this expression, the differentiated expression of the FM signal, now we can see that this particular differentiated signal is having its magnitude, which is also depending on the magnitude of the message signal. Here you can see that this is our magnitude, or you can say that this is the envelope part of this frequency modulated signal, okay. So because this is our sinusoidal term, okay, and then whatever we are multiplying in front of the sinusoidal term, that will become the as I said, that it will become the envelope of that particular function. So basically here we can see that this envelope is now, it is message dependent, okay. Here you can say that it is having a FC plus KF multiplied with the MT. So basically now its amplitude is no more constant once we perform the differentiation, fine. So based on that, okay, we have to go for the demodulation of the FM signal. So basically what I'm trying to explain is, whenever we have an FM modulated signal, frequency modulated signal, and if we pass this signal through a differentiator circuit, okay, through a differentiator circuit, then the output of the differentiator will be something like this, okay, will be something like this. So basically what it reflects that it is having both AM and FM modulated signal. Okay, it is having both AM and FM modulated signal. Here you can see that it is frequency modulated because frequency is also changing based on the magnitude of the message signal, and its amplitude is also going to change with the magnitude of the message signal. Okay, because of this factor FC plus KF MT. Fine. So now here you can see that this envelope, okay, this envelope will become like 2 pi FCT. If you talk about the magnitude only, it will be like 2 pi AC FC plus KF MT. Okay, so please do not see this particular equation. Here it is omega C plus KF MT. So here you have to consider this, okay, 2 pi AC FC plus KF MT. So this will be the envelope of this particular expression. And again, it is not only having the amplitude modulation, but its carrier frequency also changes with the magnitude, because at this point, when the massive signal is having its maximum amplitude, at this point, the carrier is also having its maximum carrier frequency. Okay, similarly, when this magnitude is having its least value, at this time, it is having its least frequency. Whenever the carrier is unmodulated at a certain point, at that time, the carrier frequency will remain unmodulated carrier frequency. So basically, what we are trying to do is we have to pass the FM signal through a differentiator circuit, and the differentiator circuit will convert this FM modulated signal into both AM and FM modulated signal. So now we can see that basically the message part will appear in the envelope of this differentiated signal. And therefore, what we can have is we can pass this signal now through an envelope detector, and therefore the output of the envelope detector will be proportional to our message signal. So this is the very simplest method of demodulating the FM signal. Okay, this is the most simplest method. So we have to differentiate it, and then we have to pass it through the envelope detector, so that the output of the envelope detector is going to be proportional to our message signal. Similarly, again we can think of, okay, like if suppose we have a frequency modulated wave. Okay, if we have a frequency modulated wave, and if we pass this frequency modulated wave through a filter, okay, through a filter whose characteristics is something like this, okay, whose frequency response is something like this. Okay, so what this frequency response says, okay, if you say that this frequency response is actually increasing linearly with the frequency. Okay, this is a straight line, so it represents that this frequency response shows that the frequency or its magnitude or the response of the filter is increasing linearly with respect to the frequency. Okay, so let us suppose that if we have the carrier frequency at omega equals to omega c, or you can say f equals to fc. Okay, at this point it is going to give you the output that will have the carrier frequency f equals to fc, and it will have a certain magnitude. Okay, now whenever the carrier frequency is increasing, okay, so we have to move towards right side, okay, because carrier frequency will increase in this side. So when the carrier frequency is increasing, okay, whenever we are giving such input, okay, to this such type of filter, then the output will going to increase, means the magnitude of the carrier is going to increase linearly. Okay, similarly, when we are giving a like FM signal whose frequency is less than the omega c, its magnitude is going to be reduced. Okay, because here you can see that the response is at this point, its magnitude response is less. Okay, here its magnitude is less, here it is more, and again at this point it is highest. Okay, so basically, even if we pass a frequency modulated signal through such a filter or a tuned circuit whose frequency response is something like this, then again the output of the filter will be an AM and FM modulated signal. I hope you must be able to understand, because let us suppose that if this is the least value, okay, least value of the frequency. So obviously corresponding to this frequency, okay, corresponding to this frequency, a gain term is going to multiply this FM signal. Okay, so let us suppose this is least frequency, then this least frequency will be correspond to this omega value. Okay, so at this point it is going to multiply with this gain value. And similarly, when omega equals to omega c, okay, so let us suppose that this is our omega c. So at this point it is going to multiply with this much of magnitude. And when it is having a highest frequency, okay, maximum frequency, so at that time it is going to multiply with this much of magnitude. And therefore we can see that there will be a linear variation in the magnitude that we are going to observe whenever the FM signal is passed through such tuned circuit. Okay, and therefore it is again going to give you us this type of AM and FM modulated signal. So now based on the previous concept. Again, what we can have is we can have the SM frequency modulated signal. And if we pass this frequency modulated signal through a tuned circuit, okay, then when this SM frequency modulated signal will pass through the tuned circuit, it will be converting the FM signal into both FM and AM. And therefore, once it is having this type of waveform, again, if we pass it through the envelope detector, it is going to give you the output that will be proportional to mass signal empty. So now you must be able to understand that how this FM signal can be demodulated. Okay, you will find that in most of the books that there is a generalized block diagram. Okay, for demodulation of the FM signal. Okay, so that generalized block diagram you can see here. Okay, in which we have to convert the FM to AM signal. Okay, so you remember that in both the cases, I haven't told you about the this particular block. Okay, first of all, we have to have a received signal, which is our FM signal. And before going into the demodulation of the before we begin the demodulation process of the FM signal, the very first step is to pass it through a band pass limiter. Okay, you will always find a band pass limiter in the case of FM demodulator circuit. Okay, so what is this band pass limiter? So basically, whenever we pass or whenever we transmit an FM signal, what we are assuming that the ideally the FM signal will not have its amplitude which is a time varying in nature. So it should be an uniform or it should be a constant amplitude. So here what we are saying that it is AC is constant. Okay, the amplitude of this FM signal, FM modulated signal, is constant. But practically this is not happening. Okay, what happens when it is transmitted through the channel will add a certain amount of unwanted voltage or current waveforms. Okay, generally it will add a certain amount of unwanted signals, and those signals are generally referred as the noise. Okay, and you remember that at present we have not studied about the noise, but generally noise is going to affect the magnitude part. Okay, so it is going to be added with the magnitude. So basically either it is going to be added or subtracted, and therefore the magnitude or a magnitude of this FM signal, okay, is not going to be a constant, but it will also be a function of time. Okay, so basically AC will become AC T. So basically its amplitude of the FM signal is also a time dependent parameter. So whenever ACT is a time dependent parameter, and that time if you pass these signals directly through the differentiator or a tuned circuit, then the output will have a certain amount of distortion. You will be going to get a distorted output. Okay, because we have not eliminated the time dependence of the amplitude of the FM signal. So basically what we need to perform is, first of all, we need to remove those eliminate those amplitude variations or fluctuations, whatever happened in between the transmitter and the receiver. Okay, so that we have to first eliminate, and then only this actions can be performed. So at present, I'm not talking about the details of the band pass limiter, okay, how it is going to eliminate those variations. Okay, so that we are not going to talk about at this present discussion. Okay, whenever it is necessary, I will discuss about the what should be the circuitry for the band pass limiter. So for this discussion, you please understand that what is the use of the band pass limiter. The use of the band pass limiter is to eliminate the fluctuations of the amplitude received in the FM signal. Okay, and therefore after removing it, the amplitude will remain constant. And now that signal can be passed through a differentiator. Okay, and then this differentiator output can be passed through the envelope detector. Okay, and then a suitable DC blocking capacitors or DC blocking circuits can be used, and final output we are going to get is going to be a proportional to masses signal. So here we can either have a differentiator circuit, or we can also write this as a tuned circuit. You will find that the differentiator circuit is also having the same characteristics, okay, same frequency characteristics. So this is our basic block diagram. Now you try to see this how the same because we have already seen that by having a differentiator circuit you can just make a differentiator circuit like you can make an op-amp based differentiator circuit, you can pass it through and then you can get the uh, EM and FM modulated signal, and later on you can pass it through the envelope detector to get the message signal as the output. Now we have to see there are several methods. First of all, FM demodulation is having several methods. For example, the first method is our in which we have to convert the FM to AM conversion. Okay, so basically FM to AM conversion means it is converting FM to both AM and FM. Okay, so you remember that it should be converted not only to the AM conversion, but FM is going to be converted into AM and FM modulated signal. So generally this method is actually called as the frequency discrimination method. Okay, frequency discrimination method. So in this frequency discrimination method, either we can use the differentiator d by dt, or we can also use a tuned circuit. Okay, a particular tuned circuit can also be used for doing this FM to AM conversion. Okay, the second method is the phase shift discrimination method, in which we are having the Foster-Seeley discriminator, ratio detectors, and the quadrature detectors. Okay. The third one is the zero crossing detector that we have, and the last one is the phase locked loop. Remember that the PLL method is most popularly used for demodulation of the FM signal. Okay. So why it is used, I will be tell you later on. Today in this lecture, I'm going to talk about this frequency discrimination method by using the tuned circuit. Okay, so you see this what is frequency discrimination method? Basically a circuit which is containing a tuned circuit for a tuned circuit, okay, which is also called as the slope detector. Okay, you remember that it is also called as the slope detector. So basically it is a tuned circuit followed by an envelope detector, or it is a slope detector followed by an envelope detector. So combination is called as the frequency discrimination method. So you try to understand this because in the previous slide, I told you about this. Okay, I told you that we should have this type of characteristics. And once we have this type of characteristics, then the output will be this. Okay, so now you see, suppose if we have a tuned circuit and its frequency response curve is something like this. Okay, we already know that we should have a double-sided spectrum. Okay, so whatever we have at the positive frequency, the same should be in the negative axis. Fine. So now if suppose that we have this type of frequency response of a tuned circuit, any tuned circuit. Okay, so in that case, you know that it is having a band pass filter characteristics. Okay, so it is having a certain center frequency at f equals to f naught, or the resonant frequency you can say. And then basically we have to talk about the most linear part of this tuned circuit frequency characteristics. Okay, the most linear part, because we need a frequency response characteristics which is linear. Okay, which is linearly changing with the frequency. So here you can see in this discussion. Okay, please try to understand this discussion. So if you see in this section, okay, in this section, the dependence of the gain is not linearly changing with the frequency. Okay, it is having certain curve. Okay, but if you see this section in between A and B, it is almost means approximated as a linear line. Okay, so it means that within this red section between section A and B, this can be considered as a linear characteristics. So in between frequency f1 and f2, we can see that this section of the tuned circuit is having its most linear curve, and therefore the output within this range of f1 and f2 is going to proportional to the frequency of the input signal. So whenever the frequency is more, the amplitude that we are going to get at the output will be having more amplitude. Okay, so magnitude will be more, and here it will be magnitude will be less. Okay, at point A. So basically, if we talk about this section, just to try to enlarge this section. Okay, if we enlarge this section between frequency f1 and f2, that can be again replotted in this way. Okay, so we are just talking about this section. Okay, so first we need to design a tuned circuit, and after having this tuned circuit, we have to just talk about that section of the frequency response in which the characteristics is most linear. So let us suppose that between A and B, we are having the most linear characteristics. So now if within this section A and B, in which it is having the most linear characteristics, okay, then if we will able to means accommodate these frequencies, like we are having the frequency modulated signal. So if we are able to accommodate the carrier frequency fc, that can be equals to f1 plus f2 divided by 2. It means that if we are having a carrier frequency that can be in the middle of this particular section, okay, that can be in the middle of this particular section. And then if it is having its transmission bandwidth, which is equals to bt, then if we go like fc plus bt by 2 and fc minus bt by 2, then all this frequency range within this transmission bandwidth of the fm, the entire characteristics will be linear. Okay, its entire characteristics will be linear. Then only what we can have is, whenever we are applying a particular frequency, a modulated signal to such type of circuit within this range, okay, within this range, we are going to get the linear dependence on the frequency. Okay, so whenever frequency is more, the magnitude of the output is going to be more. Whenever the frequency is less, again the magnitude is going to be less. Okay, and therefore fm to am conversion will take place. Okay, but you remember that normally when we are having a single tuned circuit, okay, because of the available bandwidth of the fc, fm modulated signal, you remember that in the FM modulated signal, the bandwidth allotted for each channel is around 200 kilohertz. Okay, so normally what happens, because of the non-linearity of the characteristics, okay, generally we do not get this range will not be sufficient to cover entire 200 kilohertz bandwidth, and therefore generally means single tuned circuit cannot be suitable for doing the demodulation. Okay, means converting the fm into am. So what will happen, because of if this range is not sufficient, okay, if this range is not sufficient, there will be a certain non-linear portion will also come. Okay, a certain non-linear portion will also come, and therefore when it is a non-linear portion, then the frequency conversion, okay, frequency to amplitude conversion will be non-linear. Okay, because of the non-linearity of the curve. Okay, here you can see that we are having a non-linear characteristics at this point. Okay, and again at this point it is having a non-linear characteristics. So here we can understand that if this much of range, okay, this much of range, if it is not able to accommodate completely 200 kilohertz bandwidth, then obviously this will also enter into a non-linear region. Okay, here and here, and therefore the conversion of the frequency into the amplitude is going to be non-linear, and therefore because of the non-linearity, a proper demodulation will not take place, and therefore we do not generally use the single tuned circuit. So then what is the solution? We generally go for the double tuned circuit. Okay, generally we go for the double tuned circuit. So what we do is here we can see that in the tuned circuits, fine. So generally what we have is we are having a tuned circuit 1, and then we are having an envelope detector. Again, we are having a tuned circuit 2. We are having another envelope detector. We have to apply the FM signal, okay, and then it will be passed through this two tuned circuit, and then the envelope detector, and the proper voltage, whatever we are going to get, it should be either added or subtracted based on the circuitry that we have made. Okay, and therefore we are going to get the output which is proportional to empty. So here we can see that if we have taken suppose two tuned circuits. Okay, the first one is this one. Okay, we are having this tuned circuit, and then another tuned circuit is this. Okay, so first of all we need to make two tuned circuit, and then a certain portion or certain characteristics of the tuned circuit is going to be overlapping. Okay, and that overlap should be designed such a way that when we are going to get the overall characteristics of this filter, the overall characteristics that we are going to get will be a linear portion. Okay, so here we can see that in this case, like f equals to fc, this is the portion. Okay, and then you can see that this is almost linear, but it is not completely linear. Okay, it is almost linear but not completely linear. Okay, again this portion is not completely linear, it is having a certain non-linear characteristics, but the design of the circuit will be such that whenever the frequency, like whenever we going towards this direction, okay, whenever the f equals to fc, okay, the gain of this filter, here you can see that the gain of the filter, like filter 1 is equals to whatever be the gain, the same gain will be also offered by the filter 2, okay, or tuned circuit 2. So in this case, if we subtract the gain offered by the tuned circuit 1 to the gain offered by the tuned circuit 2, then the gain will be subtracted, and at f equals to fc, the gain offered by this tuned circuit will be equals to 0. So here we are going to get the value equals to 0. Okay. Now, when we move greater than fc, okay, when we move towards greater than fc, here we can see that here the gain of this tuned circuit 1 is going to be increasing. Okay, it is increasing slowly, and here the gain offered by the circuit 2 is going to be reducing slowly. So if we subtract this, okay, if we subtract this, then we are going to get a certain value. Okay, and then finally at this point, okay, when the gain of the tuned circuit is equals to 0.707, and here the gain of the tuned circuit second will become almost 0, the value will be going to be 0.707. And this way, similarly, you can also do the analysis in this negative portion whenever our frequency is less than fc. Okay, so whenever the frequency is less than fc, we are going to get this type of curve. So basically, you can substitute certain values. For example, if it is at f equals to fc, fine. At f equals to fc, if our gain is equals to like 0.4, then 0.4 minus 0.4 will be equals to 0. If it is here, it is suppose it is 0.5, and here it is something like 0.3, then it will be giving you 0.2. Similarly, here it will be 0.6, here it is 0.3, okay, 0.2, then it will be giving you 0.3, and so on. So this way you can be able to calculate, and we have to get this particular value. So basically this value that we are going to get is minus 0.707 to 0.707, okay, negative to positive. And within this section, this characteristics will be linear, almost linear, okay. And therefore we will be able to generate the actual characteristics that we want for the generation of the means demodulation of the FM signal. So this way, I hope you must be able to follow, okay. So basically this way we are able to use this particular double tuned circuit. This is also called as the balanced slope detector. You remember that whatever I'm talking about is talking about the slope detection. Okay, this tuned circuit is also known as the slope detector. Okay, because we are talking about the slopes. Fine. So we are going to detect this slope. So it is a slope detection. So this is our balanced slope detector, okay, in which we are having two tuned circuits. Okay, a similar circuit again you can see, like we can have this type of circuitry. Okay, so this is the basic circuits in which we are having the in the first case you can find that it is our tuned circuit. It is made up of inductance and capacitances, and then it is followed by a envelope detector. Okay, this is again a tuned circuit, second tuned circuit, and another slope detector. Okay, another envelope detector. Okay, and then we are going to get the final output at this point. So again, here you can see in this case, in the last case, I was subtracting these two gains offered by the tuned circuit 1 and tuned circuit 2. Now you suppose that if we have this type of circuit in which this is having this, first of all, we are having the upper tuned circuit and we are having a lower tuned circuit. Okay, and let us suppose that the upper tuned circuit is having its amplitude response is something like this. Okay, it is having its amplitude response, which is something like this. Okay, or its frequency response, you can say. So we are talking about the magnitude response. I am just talking about the magnitude response here. Okay, so let us say this is the amplitude response of the upper tuned filter, and this is the amplitude response of the lower tuned filter. Okay, so now if we add them together, you will find that there are certain portions which are actually overlapping. Okay, so here you can find that if you add at this particular point, okay, there is magnitude equals to 1, and here we are going to get a certain magnitude. So basically when we add this two together, okay, this is having a positive magnitude and here it is having a negative magnitude, then the response that we are going to get is equals to this, which is equals to 0.707. And again, when you add this value to this value, okay, this response will be something like this. Okay, here you can see that whatever be the magnitude at this point, okay, and whatever be the magnitude, it will be remain same. And when you add them, okay, the result that we are going to get is equals to 0. Fine. So this way we have to design our circuit. Okay, this way we have to design our circuit so that within this range, so here you can see that it is at f equals to fc. The response that we are going to get is equals to 0. Okay, here we are going to get at fc plus 2b, or you can say yes, it is fc plus 2b. So at this point, what we are going to get it as maximum value is equals to 0.707. Okay, so basically within the bandwidth of the FM signal, okay, within the bandwidth of the FM signal, the response, or you can say the equivalent response that we are going to get from the circuit should be a linear portion. Okay, so here in this range we are going to get a linear portion, and beyond that there is no means we do not have to bother about this particular range. Because we know that the maximum frequency deviation that we are going to get is fc plus delta f, and minimum will be fc minus delta f. So our frequency range will be varying in between these two frequency range only, and therefore we have to just bother about this frequencies range, okay, between these two range, like in between you can say fc minus 2b to fc plus 2b. Okay, so that will be the range only. So within this range, in which it is a linear portion, that will be sufficient to do the FM to AM conversion. So you must be thinking that why it should be 0.707. You remember that after like 3 dB fall, okay, in any of the characteristics, the most linear fall you will be expecting after 3 dB fall. Okay, so 3 dB fall is corresponding to 1 upon root 2. So whenever our magnitude of the frequency response curve is actually becoming 0.707, and after that, whatever be the fall, you will find that it will have a most linear portion. Okay, so we are just taking that one, okay, into consideration, and this way we are going to get this particular curve. So I hope you must be able to understand that how we are going to do this, because even in the previous case, what we did is we have subtracted the response of the tuned circuit 1 to tuned circuit 2, and therefore we are able to get this particular linear portion, and we are not bothering about whatever be the portion that we are going to get after that, because our frequency is actually varying in between minus from fc minus delta f to fc plus delta f, and after that there will be no frequency term that is going to come into the FM signal. So I hope you must be able to understand how this demodulation of the FM signal can be performed using the this balanced slope detector. Okay, how this should be converted into first AM, and then this AM can be detected by having the envelope detector. In the coming lectures, I am going to talk about the phase locked loop PLL circuit, which is most commercially used. So I hope you must be able to follow the lecture. If you have any query, you let me know with your comments. So stay connected with the channel. I will be discussing about the PLL in my next lecture. So thank you for watching.